Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Gene Curl, and this is the series I'm doing where I'm reading my mission journal that I kept for my mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And this is, I believe, the 28th episode of reading my mission journal. And I'm just going to go ahead and start off where I left off on the last episode. Tuesday, January 13th, 2004. Clear, it rained last night, so it was clear hot with light wind today. The car had 2 parking tickets on the windshield, one for parking by a hydrant and one for parking too close to the driveway. Since Elder S. parked the car last night, he will pay for the tickets. The 2 tickets together total $60. Elder S. and I did not have much personal study because we had to give Elder L. a blessing. We picked up Elders S. and the other Elder S. and went to district meeting. We had lunch at the pad. After lunch, I drove most of the rest of the day, up until team-ups. We tracted for a while. Between lunch and tracting, we studied Tongan. And one man, Elder S., called him bro, so he said, "Hey, I ain't your bro. I'm a Hawaiian." We tried to teach him a first discussion, but he went off on almost everything we said. Before we left, Elder S. called him bro a couple more times on accident. We had to rush to get to the base, and by the time we got to Sonny's, we were 15 minutes late. Brother O could not come, so we were teaching the second discussion without him. Things were going pretty well, and then Sister O came while I was teaching the baptism principle. She shared a good personal experience about the Holy Ghost, but then went off on the Book of Mormon, and I was not sure if she was trying to help or hurt. I did not commit Sonny for baptism because the Spirit had left during the discussion. Actually, all day. I was a bit out of it and could not think for anything. We were late to the bishop's house for team-ups. I went with the bishop, and Elder S. went with Brother B. The bishop and I went to see the M family, who were very active. The bishop decided who we would see. And then we went to see the S family. Their oldest son said that he does not believe in God anymore, so I told them that we could teach the discussions to the family. At 20:30 we went to the chapel because Micah was supposed to meet us there for the baptismal interview. The zone leader showed up late, so late that we had to reschedule the interview. Brother B is the High Councilman and also a retired Army colonel, and gave us a ride back to our car. Wednesday, January 14th, 2004. It rained hard all last night and very hard a lot of the day today. The wind reached 80 miles per hour last night and about 60 today. The roof blew off some of the schools today, and the shingles blew off a lot of the houses and buildings, including the Church of the Nazarene. I got very wet just taking the trash out with Elder P. Elder P and Elder H met Elder S and I at the church, and I went with Elder P to his area. We followed up on a few people and then decided to spot track and taught a solid first discussion with a return appointment. It was a little hard to talk because the wind made it hard to hear what was being said. At lunch, after I helped take the trash out, I got wet. We followed up on another person and taught them the first discussion. We came back to the pad to call, and I threw my wet clothes in the dryer. As soon as they were dry, I put them on and we left for our appointment. We were teaching this lady the second discussion, and we were on the last principle when her husband came home. He went in the house and got his Bible and then came out into the garage where we were teaching. He talked for about 15 minutes telling us how he knows all about the church because he got his doctorate from BYU Provo, and we are wrong. If we want to come listen to him, it is okay, but we will not teach his wife about Mormonism. Before we left, we asked if there was anything that we could do for them, and he told us that is one of the things that he likes about our church is that we love everyone and try to help them out, and also the family is important. He told us that he has great respect for our church, but believes that our doctrines are flat out wrong. We spent the rest of the time until dinner following up on people and visiting part member families. The people we had dinner with were really nice people. They told us that for a while they were afraid that they might not be able to feed us at their home because the power has been out. The power went out all over this side of the island. Some parts of it got it back sooner than others. Lastly, we stopped to see the W family because they are from Pocatello, Idaho, and I wanted to see if they were related to my bishop. Brother Billy W. is closely related to my bishop. His wife is Leah. They know Kevin, Gordon, Steve, and they know the Satterfields. They know the B family and a lot of other people that I know, but I did not get to talk to them long. Elder P and I came back to the pad at 20:30 for PBI and talked until closing time. Thursday, January 15th, 2004. Mostly clear and hot with light wind. Elder P and I drove back to Kailua to get our companions back. Elder S had area analysis with Elder D and Elder L, and while he did, I planned some of our day. We then visited a few people and a Tongan family, then went home at 11:30 to work on the area book. After lunch, we went to the church for Tongan study. We had an appointment to do a 6-step program with the C family, but when we showed up, no one stayed home. We tracked it for a while, but only taught one discussion, and she did not believe and would not accept a copy of the Book of Mormon. We went to follow up with Steve and his wife, and brother-in-law invited us in for a few. Later we found out, just before we went to see Brother C, that they are a part-member family in which Steve is not a member. We had dinner with the P family. After dinner, I shared their message about the old man and the starfish and invited them to do a 6-step revelation with us on a later date. And then he went out with us and visited a few of the families he knows on base. We went to visit a Tongan family who asked us not to come back anymore and then went to see Brother C. He told us that we need to be more energetic when we come to his house. I agree, we looked a little tired. Brother C is quite windy, so we got home a little late. I worry a lot about not being able to go to school for a while because it might take me a while to get my GED. I really want to study math on my mission as to help me prepare, but I have not had a chance since I came to this area. I have too much to worry about. 2 new areas, no records, learning Tongan, and recertifying for the last time. Friday, January 16, 2004. Mostly clear, light rain in the evening, hot, light wind. During zone plan, Elder G and I went with his area. We visited a few investigators and then went tracting. When we tracted, we did not have any success, but I did take a picture of a cool sign that read, "No church people." When we got back to church, I climbed the tree and had Elder G take a picture of me sitting in the fork of the tree. When we had lunch at the pad, a package came for me from my Aunt Rhonda in which she enclosed a $100 bill. I think I'll send it to Mom to have her put it in my bank account for me. The package was a late Christmas package. I drove today. After lunch, we studied Tongan. The landlady came and told us that we have to clean the pad. It's a shame because I just got here and really want to clean it up, but I did not get a chance to before she told us. I cleaned a lot on Monday, but it barely made a dent. We visited a few people off base and then spent an hour and a half visiting people on base. We visited Brother H, the first counselor to the bishop. After we left the base, we visited a few people and then tried to see some people in the Tongan ward. We had dinner at the pad and then went to give a lady at the hospital a blessing, but when we got there, she had already been released. We stopped by the chapel to check out the W's reception, but did not stay long because the dancing and the country music made us drunky. We tried to see a few old media referrals and then went to the pad so the Elder S could prepare his training for district meeting. While he worked on it, I worked on the area book. Saturday, January 17, 2004. Clear, hot, light wind. Elders S and the other Elder S rode with us to the Kaneohe so they could participate in the zone track. Elder S and I did not go to zone track because we had a baptism at the stake center. Micah is a Samoan, but he got baptized into the Tongan branch because all of his LDS friends are Tongan. Elder S baptized him. After the baptism, Micah and I sang, "I would follow him." It could have been another song. We ate lunch provided by the Kaneohe 5th Tongan branch. As did the rest of the elders in the zone. When we got back to the pad, we made a few calls, etc., and then tracked it for an hour or so. We met one man named Barry from Arizona who was visiting family and taught him the first discussion. He had a lot of tough questions, but when the discussion was through, he said, "I don't want this to end here. I want to talk to you again." We told him that we would drop by in a day or so to see how his reading went. We stopped by Brother N's house to use his phone and then helped his granddaughter wash the car. We dropped by Brother B's house for a few, and before we left for dinner, he gave us both burgers. We wanted to stay longer as barbecue, but we could not. We had dinner with the H family. There's a lot of H families in this ward. I played with their dog for a while. We saw his family sword and fell in love with it. Best of all, he let me play with it. I was also pretty amused looking at his Nitro RC cars because I love them and have a Nitro T-Max at home. We left dinner about 20 minutes longer than we should have. We visited the O family for a few and then went back to the pad for a Tongan study. I kept dozing off and I tried to stay awake. Sunday, January 18, 2003. Mostly cloudy, light rain, hot, light wind. PEC in the second ward was interesting because everyone was arguing. One of the reasons that no one gets along with the bishop is that he tries to force everyone to do things instead of inspiring them to do things. In Sacrament, I had to share a mission experience. I had a great experience to share, but when I got to the podium, I got nervous the story was not quite as great as I had planned. Sacrament meeting was pretty boring. Sunday school was good, and though I tried hard to stay awake, I fell asleep in priesthood. We had to bail early out of the welfare meeting to go to the Tongan branch. In the Tongan branch, I understood a little more than I did last week, but I still did not understand much. I fell asleep in Sacrament and was told that everyone laughed at me. Oh well, one of the elders in the ward told me that he would give me a patriotic tie when we came to dinner. We had dinner with the Tongan family in Kiliki, but they fixed Chinese food. Today I drove. After dinner, we came home for companionship inventory and week plan. Monday, January 19, 2004. Mostly clear, but it rained lightly a few times today. Light wind, hot as usual. We did our laundry at 5. I wrote a bunch of people today. After we finished laundry, we all cleaned the apartment. Elder D and Elder L came over to our pad and spent most of the day with us. Elder S went with me to drop off the car for an oil change. We walked back to the pad. When the car was ready, Elder S went with me to pick it up. I paid for it and drove it home. We all decided to go bowling, and I drove our car. S rode with Elder D. I got the highest bowling score of my life, which is not very high at all, 102. Sometimes I kind of hate to have P-Day because I have too much time to think and I get kind of depressed. But at the same time, I love P-Day because it is a chance to rest and have fun, etc. Elder S and I had to drive to Honolulu by 800 for a Tongan dinner. Elder S did not know Honolulu, so I told him where to turn, etc. once he got to town. The family just gave us the food, and then we rushed back to Kailua to get to Brother C's house on time. We taught Chad the second discussion at Brother C's house. The discussion went pretty well, but Chad did not accept the invitation to be baptized. However, he did agree to come to church and to meet with us again. The reason he did not come to church last week is because he had to work. Brother C is very unhappy to share us with the Tongan branch and tries all he can to get us to spend less time with him and more with the Kailua first. We came home at 20:30 for dinner and Tongan study. Tuesday, January 20th, 2004. Mostly cloudy, light wind, light rain, hot. This morning we tried to visit a few investigators and then a few members. We came home at 11:30 to work on the area book, and then at 12 we had lunch. After lunch we went to the church for Tongan study, and I had a very hard time staying awake. After Tongan study we tracted for 30 minutes. We did not teach, but we did get a solid return appointment with a man named AJ. We went on base, and I taught Sonny the third discussion. It all went well until Sister O came over and opened a big can of worms that we were not ready to open yet. Sister O does not have a testimony and causes Sonny to doubt. After Sister O left, we were able to resolve most of the concerns that she brought up and had a pray now with Sonny. We went to the P's to do a 6-step, and when we got there, Brother P told us that he had to cancel because he was told 20 minutes before we got there that he is going to Iraq on Friday and wants to call his family. We picked up dinner money from a Tongan family and then went to Taco Bell to buy food. After a few people started talking to us while we waited for our food, but declined our offer for a pass-along card. We went to church to check out the Tongan Mutual. One Tongan man came to speak to the youth, Mario or something. He plays for the Denver Broncos. I had him sign my white handbook. I received a letter from Gretchen and a letter from Mom. Both letters told me that there is a lot of snow on the ground. Wednesday, 21st of January 2004. Mostly cloudy, light rain today, hot with light wind. We started off the day by going on the base and trying to visit apartment member families, but most of the people that we tried to visit were not home. We came home at 11:30 to have an area analysis with Elder L and Elder D. I received a homemade calendar from the family home evening that I met from the home family that I met in New Iwanu, but they now live in Utah. After lunch, Elder S had an area analysis with Elder S and Elder S, and I worked on the area book during the time that we were at the pad. When we left the pad, we went to church to study Tongan. We tracted and taught a discussion to a couple of teenage girls. We then tried to follow up on a few people and drove to Kaneohe to pick up dinner money from the Tongan family. We picked up food at Arby's and then had to eat it quickly so that we could be on time for our next appointment. We taught Jim the second discussion, and he agreed with all of what we taught except for the need for baptism. When he first let us in, he told us the reason he is wanting to talk to us is that he is running for state senate and he wants to understand the Mormons to get their vote. He did say that he wants to go to church again, but he wants someone to sit with him so that he does not feel strange. I would vote for him if I was a Hawaii resident because he is a Republican. That's funny. I say that because I'm definitely not a Republican now. We came home at 20:30 so Elder S could work on his district meeting. All day I have felt like I was catching a cold and I had a sore throat. By midday I could only talk with a very deep voice, and by the time we were almost through with teaching gym I could not talk very easily. We visited the activity ladies today to try and schedule a fireside, and she was a little shorter. She would almost look exactly like Kayleen, which made me get trunky thoughts. Also tonight, just before we went home, we stopped at the new chapel, which is very new, and the smell made me trunky because it smells exactly like my building in Pocatello. When we got home, we gave our best couch over to our new neighbor. Our neighbors are two young ladies who are going to college. Elder S and I carried it, but all four of us went over. About midday today, I made myself look like an idiot because I saw a book on the shelf of the C family and quietly mentioned that it was the most boring book that I had ever read. Sister C heard it and did not appreciate it. I tried to correct it, but it only made it worse. Oops, open mouth, insert foot. Thursday, 22nd of January 2004. Mostly clear, light rain after dark, windy and hot. When my alarm went off this morning, I decided to lay in bed until 5:40, so I usually get up at 5:30 because I did not feel well, but I fell asleep and did not wake up until just before 6:30. I had a hard time staying awake during district meeting today. After district meeting, Elder D and Elder L came to our pad to have lunch with us. After lunch, I went on an area team up with Elder L in his area. He is kind of crazy but a good guy. I like being teamed up with Elder L a lot better than Elder S. I really enjoyed today. At 1400, we had an appointment to teach the first discussion to a lady who used to be a Jehovah's Witness and is married to a member. Well, actually, she is shacking up with him and said that she will be baptized as soon as they get married. She completely believes all of our doctrine, and this will be her third time taking the discussions. We had an appointment to teach some people at the church, but an hour later, when they had not showed up, we went to their home to find out what happened. Turns out they forgot about us because of car problems. We taught another part member family. It was kind of a review for their son on the first and second discussion. He has not had the discussions in a long time, but remembered almost everything. We taught the first discussion to the wife and another part member family, and then I taught the husband about the priesthood. We met a couple of members at the church to go on the split. One of the brethren and I went to see a very inactive family, and they were drunk off their butts. We met back at the church at 20:30. We had to rush to pick up our dinner. We got there late, so they had just left the food on the doorstep so they could go to bed. We went to the pad to have dinner and call it a night. I drove today because Elder L cannot. Friday, 23rd of January 2004. Partly cloudy with a few sprinkles. Light wind, hot. I got up at 6 instead of 5:30 this morning. After devotional and breakfast, we went to my pad for personal study. Elder D and Elder L rode with Elder S and I to Kaneohe for interviews with President Willis. When President interviewed me, he told me not to worry too much about learning Tongan because I won't be in the Tongan branch too long, and the only reason that I was put there in the first place is a shortage of Tongan elders. He also told me that I am lucky to have Elder S, and Elder S thinks highly of me. We had a quick lunch at the pad, and then went to the chapel for a zone plan. I like to call it zone waste of time. And Elder G went with me in my area. We followed up on some old media referrals and then called some people. I received a letter from Heidi again, which brought me a great joy. Elder S and I visited a few people and did the 6-step program with the C family, and then met a Tongan family at the church so they could give us dinner. We ate at the pad. We visited the Y family, an inactive but very cool family. We came back to the pad at 20:30 for Tongan study, but I did not study. I cleaned while Elder S studied. Saturday, the 24th of January, 2004. Mostly clear all day. It rained after dark, light wind, hot. I had to go on a team up with Elder S until 1 p.m. because Elder S and Elder S wanted to take an investigator to the Testament and had a teaching appointment. I was stuck with Elder S to help out, but the reason that I had to go with Elder S instead of the other Elder S is some reason that I always have to go on a team up with Elder, that I had to go on a team with Elder R and Kauai. He is annoying as an ant on your backside. Turns out the teaching appointment Kent dogged us, and we did not teach him. Elder S wanted to talk story with some members in his area until our appointment. When the appointment dogged us, we followed up on people. On our way to visit one lady across from the beach park, I met the H family from Kapolei. And she told me that the boys are getting baptized in March, and she wants me to do it. When we knocked on the door of the investigator lady, she came to the door wearing only a 2-piece string bikini and a very, very, very immodest one at that. And it did not leave a whole lot to imagination, and she is very beautiful. And she is a very beautiful daughter of God. She was not at all interested in the gospel and was very flirty. As soon as I saw her, I decided to get the heck out of there as soon as possible, and I tried hard, but I guess Elder S had other plans. He talked a lot, and when I told her that we would come by on a better day, she told us that now was a great time, and invited us to come in. I think Elder S thought about going in, but I told her that perhaps we would come back later. On the way to the car, I told Elder S that we should leave that kind of a situation as soon as possible. In response, he said, "It's okay, we can teach her without looking at her body." I told him that that kind of thinking leads to excommunication. Also, she told us that we could come back when her husband is home, if he would like. Elder S told me that he does not want to go over when her husband is home. I often wonder about that kid. The rest of the team-ups was not too bad. Elder S did not want to, but we tracked it in my area from 11:30 to 12:30 and taught one discussion to a young man named Chris. The next house, the people belonged to the Word of Life and just wanted to Bible bash. We had lunch at the pad at 1300 and got our companions back. Elder S and I visited some part-member families and followed up on people. We tracked it into and taught a first discussion to Lydia, a lady we found a couple of weeks ago. We visited a lot of old meeting referrals on base. When we were about to leave the base, a lady's car died in the intersection, so Elder S and I helped the military police push a car to the exchange parking lot about half a block away. We had dinner with the Tongan family in Kalihi, and it was freaking weird because they did not eat, but just watched us eat. We visited the H family, and then we had wheat plan. It's kind of confusing, I guess, just saying Elder S, because there's three elders with the last name S in this zone. So my companion was Elder S, and then there was 2 other Elder S's in the area. I guess I'll read this one last day. Sunday, 4th January 2004. Clear hot most of the day. Rained last night and tonight. Warm light wind. We went to the Kailua 2nd Ward PEC this morning. There was not too much contingent in PEC this time. Sacrament meeting was not too bad, but I fell asleep for a couple of minutes. We were asked to go to primary for missionary movie Sundays, so we missed almost all the gospel principles class. But since it was on marriage, it was okay to skip. We also skipped the last of Elders Quorum at 12:30. At 12:30, Kylo II had ward council and wanted us to be there. I went to the meeting, and Elder S stayed with the Tongans. At 1400, Elder S came to get me so we could teach a family referred to us by the Tongans. I was happy because he wanted to leave the meeting. The mother is a member, but their children are not. We taught the first discussion. The Elder Quorum President of Tongan Branch had us teach his son as well and wants him baptized on February 14th, the day after his 9th birthday. I had a hard time staying awake in priesthood meeting, but I survived. We had dinner with the H family. Brother H is the first counselor to the bishop. Dinner was fun, perhaps more fun than it should have been. Both the H family's daughters are very cute. One is 18 and the other 20. The older daughter had a few things in common with me which might not be good. I shared the dinner message on the stonecutter. We visited a few part-member families and a few active families and then went home for a night plan, companionship inventory. I really like being with Elder S. He is a great missionary and we have a lot in common. I will miss him when I get transferred. I can't remember if I mentioned it yet or not, but I really have an issue with the Kailua Second Word counting the people we visit as home teaching. It is like giving the word of reason to not home teach. In my ward, or a stake for that matter, it would never fly. I guess lazy people find lazy solutions. Yeah, so when we would visit us as missionaries would visit inactive members, the Elders Quorum would say that they can count that as home teaching, which would not count. You have to have their home teachers go by for it to be home teaching. So, anyhow, that's it for this episode. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to comment down below, and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. With that said, I will catch you in the next episode.